I've moved spots tonight. I've found myself another bush right on the inside. I do like bits like this. Carp always travel up the inside. The tendency is, we all do it, and I'm as guilty as anybody, you always think the grass is greener on the other side, but if you think about it logically, years ago when I used to have permission off the farmer to fish from the other side over there, I'd only be casting back across to this side anyway. Anyway, I'm putting a few boilies in by this bush here, and then I'm just going to fish halfway across with the other rod tonight and make sure it's well back-leaded. I had a trip a couple of weeks ago now to one of the other sections of canal. Didn't sleep particularly well at night, and didn't get up in the morning when I should have got up in the morning, and before I knew it, a barge had come along at 7:15 and latched onto both rods. Fortunately I was with Cameron, and he was able to get hold of one of them quick, because he just got up as it happens. It was quite lucky, and I got the other one, otherwise I'd have had both rods wiped out. I normally make sure that I'm up well before any boats come along, but you don't sort of expect them at that time in the morning, and it nearly cost me dearly. The other spot that I'm baiting is just halfway out across the canal towards the bush on the far side. I've chopped some of the boilies, and I've obviously put quite a few in whole as well. And I've cray-proofed the baits tonight so that I don't get robbed in the dead of night, because the crays have started to become really active of late, I've noticed. So, as I said to you, I'm going to crayfish proof the baits tonight, because they've really started getting on the move now it's got warmer, and they're quite a pest. You can get various products on the market. You could get meshes. I've got one of the cellophane ones here by a particular manufacturer, and that just literally, when I can get my fingernails into it, just literally opens up as a tube, and all you do is you cut yourself a piece to the required size that you want, stick your boilie inside there. As you can see, I've done it here on that one there, and I've done it on that particular one there, and then I set the kettle running, which I'll do in a moment, and then when the kettle gets going and steams up, you just hold that over the steam, and that will shrink onto the bait then, and that will stop the pesky little crayfish from nicking it. It's also perforated, this product. As I said, mesh products are very similar. I've used the mesh ones as well. They're all quite good. I just prefer this. I find it easier than having to tie the mesh and that, but that's just me being lazy. This is perforated, as I said, so it still lets the flavours out and whatever. Anyway, I'll just get the kettle running and I'll show you that in a moment. Nice flat surface so that it is level. The kettle can't fall over onto your legs or anything. You know, safety's most important. You don't want to ruin a good trip by getting scalding water down yourselves. And as you can see, it's just starting to steam now. I've not put too much water in there. And then the reason why I'm using the baiting pin, as you can see, is obviously it keeps my fingers out of the way. And as you've just seen there, I've put that one on there. Just roll it around there whilst that's got going. And then if I quickly do the other one as well, exactly the same, and that will put a stop to it. Lift that off a moment. Well, it's just 8:45 now. I saw one fish earlier just pop up on the surface. I haven't seen much else since. It's a bit quiet, but in all honesty, we've been getting ready, set up and one thing or another, and I haven't had the time to watch the water that I would have liked. But we'll do that now that we're settling down a little bit. As you can see, my brother has set further up normally where I fish, as I said he was going to. He's got one rod on the inside and he's actually got one rod across to the far side as well. And I've got both my rods in now, one down the inside near the bush where I said I was going to put one, and one about halfway across towards the bush on the other side. So it's a matter of sitting and watching and waiting and see what happens. But in the meantime, I think we're going to have something to eat now, hopefully. I'm sure my brother looking forward to cooking me some beef burgers. Maybe not. It's about 9:20 now. Haven't seen any more signs or positive signs of fish at the moment. Seen one or two bubbles coming up, the odd ring on the surface, but nothing to say it's definitely any carp. Still, it's often the way, you don't tend to see signs of them when you're on the canal quite often. But it's gone quite chilly now. I was quite surprised because it's certainly been so warm the 2 weeks prior to this week. Weather had been quite good, to be honest. Been quite muggy of an evening. Oh, I've just seen something come there that looks a bit more positive. But yeah, I've just put my fleece on a moment. It's not as warm as I thought it was going to be. Anyway, I'm going to sit back and watch the water for a bit, see if I see any signs of anything. It's about 20 to 11 now. It's absolutely flat calm at the moment. There's no wind, the wind's dropped off completely. My brother did see a carp earlier over by the far side, which was sucking on the surface underneath a bush, but haven't seen anything else apart from that at the moment. But it is a really lovely night. Can't complain at this. It's absolutely gorgeous. The chill that was on the breeze earlier has gone, and it's gone quite mild now, which is quite pleasant. Anyway, hopefully we might get something in the night or shortly, and I'll be able to film it. If not, I'll see you in the morning when perhaps I've got something then. Testing, testing. Well, we're into something, but I don't know what. Well, I don't think it's a carp, but it's a fish nonetheless. I was getting a few single bleeps on this earlier. It's a hybrid by the looks of it. Ooh. The odd single bleep on this earlier on. 2 of them to be exact. Probably about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And then it didn't do anything for a long time. This is the rod out in the middle. Yeah, it's definitely a hybrid. Fighting too hard to be a bream. It's been really quiet all night. It's been absolutely bang on perfect night, and I really did think we'd get something earlier on. Oh, well, perhaps it is a bream. It's a good one if it is. I'll just leave that there a minute while I sort out the unhooking mat. Oh. Just 2:30 in the morning. Not quite what I was expecting. Right. Yeah, definitely a hybrid. Good sized one and all. Definitely determined to escape. Let's have a look. Yeah. Stop messing about. There is the culprit. Oh, 2:30 in the morning. And a hybrid. Never mind. Could have been worse. Could have been a bream. It is a lovely looking fish. Anyway, I'll slip that back. Well, as you just heard me say, it's just gone 2:30 in the morning. Just been woken up by a hybrid. Wasn't quite expecting that. Thought we'd got past that, but it's amazing. If things want the bait, they'll get the bait, won't they? Anyway, it's a fish, that's the main thing. Right, I'm going to get back in the sleeping bag. Well, good morning. It is now just 6:21. Haven't had any more fish apart from that hybrid in the night. Been quite a bit of activity. I see a carp's just jumped out there in front of Glenn now. I've just spoken to him. He's just making the tea, which is much needed at the moment. But he hasn't had anything either. Oh. But it's not a bad morning. A little bit of rain, soft rain came down earlier, as you can see. I didn't bivvy up last night. I just slept out under the stars in the bed chair, like. But it's a nice morning. Plenty of fish activity. Just want some fish, that's all. Oof. Just check those rods and reposition those rods a moment. Now that I've got sorted. Oh, finally got a cup of tea at last. There is absolutely loads of activity this morning. Loads of it. A lot of it's from bream though. Glenn tells me there was one definite carp at about 5:20 this morning. I didn't see it, I was asleep. But some of them are bream. Seen one or two turning on the surface. Must be getting some insects from just underneath the surface. Where the nymphs of the various larvae have swum up. It's causing the fish to, they've come up and they're just below the surface. They haven't reached the surface film yet, and the fish are taking them just before they reach the surface. It's what they call bulging, the trout anglers call bulging. It's when you get fish taking them just before they reach the surface layers. So if you imagine if you put your hand in a bowl of water or in the bath just an inch or two below the surface, and then you moved it back and forth like that, creates just enough of a wave pattern on top of the water. And when you're looking to match the hatch when you're trout fishing, that's the sort of things you look for, because that wave pattern and that just slight breaking of the surface tells you need to be fishing something underneath the surface of the water. Maybe a damselfly or one of the other insects. If fish are breaking the surface on where they porpoise through the surface, then that means they're taking insects that are actually in the surface film, and that'd be something different. That'd probably be could be one of the olives that's hatching in the surface film, chironomid midge. If it was evening time, it'd be sedge, and you'd look and you'd see the insects skating across the surface or drifting across the surface. So the fish have an entirely different action. And it's the same for bream, carp, roach, tench. That's why you see a lot of tench of an evening, rolling of an evening, and you see roach rolling of an evening. They're taking insects out of the surface film when there's a hatch going on. And for carp anglers or any other, if you can identify what it's doing or study what it's actually doing, then obviously that gives you an indication when you're fishing zigs, for example, whether an indication to how far down your zig should be from the surface of the water, or whether you should be fishing a zig on the top or a floater on the top of the water. which is what I think Glenn's going to probably change over to shortly. Might change over to some floaters, see if we can get one off the top before we go, because it doesn't look like there's much down on the bottom at the moment. It went quite chilly last night and killed off the insect activity, and I really thought fish would be down on the bottom, but it warmed up about an hour after dark, and it certainly is this morning, where there's been that little bit of soft rain. It certainly warmed up an awful lot. I haven't got a coat or a fleece on, and I think that's why we've got the hatch going on that we have. Never mind. Anyway, we're going to fish on for a little bit longer, see if we can get something. But I'm going to wrap the vlog up here. Obviously, if I get something, I'll add it to the end. But if I don't, I wish you good angling, and once again, thank you very much for watching.